think we'll talk about the Unity Cup now. We talk about the Super Eagles of Nigeria and how well they did. This it was a mixture of the young generation, the MPFL stars, and some other Super Eagles players that were not really having enough opportunity to prove themselves in the league or in the national team. Look at Desas, Tolokwe Arokodare, and Black and Franco Yeka as well. So this was like a big opportunity for them. So can you just give us a recap of their performance throughout the competition against Jamaica and against Ghana?
Well, for the Super Eagles of Nigeria, well, so far so good. We are gradually seeing. I wouldn't want to call it the dividends of actually appointing
A great manager.
Erichel,
Okay.
because when the news broke that the NFL were going to appoint a certain Erichel, Nigerians actually question where he's coming from, who is Erichel, and all of that. Managing the Super Eagles of Nigeria is a tall order, because if you look at the brand, the Super Eagles of Nigeria, more like the Brazilian national team in Africa. So it is understandable.
This hype though. Okay,
why? Of
okay,
course,
no
that is the
wahala.
reality.
That's
Yes.
it. Are we really?
So
Are we
it
really
is.
the biggest in
It is
we've
understandable.
not like we've won it the most in Africa.
Not. It is not about the
Because when you
winning.
compare to Brazil, they've won like the most World Cup. That is like the
Yeah,
level
I understand, but it
Nigeria
is not
to
about
now.
winning the trophy. It's about
The hype,
the
the noise.
quality, the noise,
The
and
noise. I don't really agree
the
with the
level,
quality
the
too.
level of
Okay.
players we have in Nigeria, and some of our players regularly plays for some of these European clubs. So
Okay.
you cannot compare with what you have with a South African national team, and some of the African team in coach. So no disrespect to them, but then the Super Eagles of Nigeria are the biggest brand in Africa. So Nigerian fans were complaining, who is Eric Shaw? But so far so good. We are gradually seeing what this man can actually bring to the table. And looking at that competition, for me, the Unity Cup once again showed me that this man can actually deliver if given time. You look at some of the players he invited, Franco Yenka, Cyril Desas, even some of the MPFL guys also, had the opportunity to showcase what they can bring to the national team. The likes of Mustafa Daniel, the man who plays for, I think he plays for Nasarawa United, if I'm not mistaken. So you look at all of that quality, and you bring them together with a core player in the national team. It gives you, the sense of belonging, the sense that, okay, we can also be part of the national team if we actually do well. And in the first leg against Ghana, we saw the assist from Sadiq Ismaila, the Remo Star right back.
Yeah,
Fantastic
very, very
player
nice
for
ball.
me. I think going forward, he can also be drafted into the national team. It might not be the regular starter. Of course, we still have a certain Olaino who is doing well. So I think he can be a backup. But I still have one or two doubt about his defensive ability when it comes to facing great opponents. So I think that is my own qualms with him. But holistically, looking at the team yesterday against Jamaica, I think we had our own in that game. Of course, it's a friendly, but then this is kind of the game that you can actually pinpoint where the mistakes are being done, where you can actually
like an experiment.
Yes, put something that, okay, this is what is missing in this team. And for me, the young man who joined from Brentford, the under 21, a Brentford player, Benjamin Freddy.
Okay.
Fantastic player for me. I think Erichel should not sleep on it. That guy must be going to the AFCON with the Super Eagles of Nigeria. He needs to make the AFCON, barring injury. That young man, for me, with what I saw yesterday, I think it was fantastic yesterday. And of course, Igor Ogbu also, he had a great performance yesterday. The likes of Moses Simon, well, a lot of misplay from him yesterday. Maybe, age is telling on him, but then I think he can still do more. He's an experienced player. He's been at the highest level for many years for Super Eagles of Nigeria. So I think he can actually do more. But holistically for me, one man I also need to talk about is a certain Siri Desert. He deserves another opportunity in the national team. For me, I think he should be taking, the spot of what's his name,
Victor
Victor
Boniface.
Boniface. Honestly, that man, there's a lot he's going to bring to the table. If he's not playing the number 9 position, he tend to,
Go to the wing.
go to the wing or drive back to the midfield, and of course support the attacking
Attack.
play also. And Arokodare also once again shows that he can actually deputize for Victor Osimhen when the big man is not available for the Super Eagles.
I think that's like the aim of competitions like this, experiment to see the strength and weaknesses of your squad and improve on them. And the fact that most of the important players are not even available. The likes of Victor Osimhen, Alex Iwobi, Ola, and so on. Should I say Alex Iwobi as well? Yeah, because it's like it's a divided. Is it really? Because we all know how you think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really, because
Yeah.
me personally, I've always like not always, but like the two games in the World Cup qualifiers, I think he didn't really do well, and it looked like so bad. And that will bring me to my next question. You see that at Samuel Chukwueze had a great game in both of the games that he played against Ghana and against Jamaica. So do you think he should be drafted into midfield because he was like he was moving from one place to the other. He was normally the normal position is the right wing, but he like kind of shifted to number 10 position because I think he was finding joy and finding space there. You can say it's because it's just Jamaica and Ghana, they're both struggling right now. They're not really at their peak and everything like that. So do you think Samuel Chukwueze should kind of should be kind of tested in the midfield to kind of, because you can see that in terms of creativity we're struggling as a country because we rely on Alex Nwobi to do the creativity stuff and it's not been really delivering. We've been relying on the likes of Ademola Lookman and Victor Osimhen's brilliance to score goals. So what do you think should be done?
No, I actually feel there's no need to actually draft him to the number 10 position because we clearly saw from yesterday's game that he can clearly drift into the number 10 position from the right wing. So there's clearly no need. The only thing you could say, you can have multiple creators in the team. If Alex Iwobi is not working, a certain Chukwueze could also drift into there. And all I know now provides the width from that right position. So yes, there's clearly no need because I feel if you're even forcing a dribbler to now
Okay.
go sort of central.
Central.
Yeah, central is usually choked for almost. You hardly see number those type of wingers actually play central. It's usually very hard for them because there's a whole lot of happenings in that central part of the field. So there's clearly no need to force him out there. He can clearly dribble from the wing, cut in, pass, shoot, or do something. Can even that's just the thing. There's clearly no need to force a creative player who can clearly dribble to now force him central because I feel it's going to even quench some of his brilliance. Because if you are dribbling central, and the ball is one from you, you most likely are going to concede an attack too, and that I feel that it's going to sort of distort the setting of the team. Because if you even look at the Nigerian setup, who do you know if you say you want to play him at number 10 position, who do you know want to fit into the right wing? I clearly I am in the last few games, I clearly don't see anybody actually fitting there ahead of him. So there's clearly no need to do that. Just stick him right at the right side. If Alex Iwobi is not working, they could even form a partnership too. Who knows? Maybe Alex Iwobi could even drop deep. Although I feel there's a whole lot I have to say about the Nigerian national team,
Oh,
but
yeah.
but one thing
You
I'm
have
going
the
to
floor.
one thing I'm actually going to say that
Yeah.
if this game was played in Africa, I genuinely doubt the ball will float that way on the field. Personally, because if
I was seeing passes, I'm like,
exactly.
what is happening here? We're playing like prime.
Yeah, we actually played some very good football. So
Good true balls.
I personally think the field sort
The
of
quality,
yes
yeah.
actually holds back the Nigerian national side because if you look at it,
like
if you look at the performance, there's not much has changed. If you look at the performance from the last World Cup qualifiers and you look at the performance, even you saw lesser players from that game. The game against Jamaica and Ghana, the quality of the players is not up to the quality of the players from that game from our last game, and we could see that there was a difference. So I clearly feel the field also plays a little role in sort of this in some of these things, but they're not just always complaining about it. You just have to make do with what you have in front of you. So yes, we can, plus we cannot even start saying we want to play in World Cup qualifiers in Europe or sort of that. We just have to improve the fields. But like I said, no need to shift Chukwueze into the central role. He's a dribbler, he's a creative maverick from there. So why do that? Although he floats around, but there's clearly no need to be sticking him into
Okay.
that position.
Okay. And that's my next question is about the score line. It's a 2-2 draw at full time, and you had to like take penalties to settle the game and to kind of decide the winner. So for me, I think going into the game, I was really confident that it was just Jamaica and everything. We have enough quality. That's why football can be tricky. I get it, but like, should we really be going to that extent, to penalty to win against a certain Jamaica? Because that's the thing about Nigeria. Look at the game against Ghana. It was easy. We should have done more, but we still managed to win full time. Now Jamaica that are even lesser when it comes to the name, the quality of football, and everything are just coming up. They still have a lot. I don't even recognize any of their players. I don't know them by their name. No disrespect to them. It's just like they are still upcoming. They're upcoming. They're just trying to find their rhythm and everything like that in football. They're just like known to be athletes and everything. But when it comes to football, they kind of struggle a bit. So why is it that is it that we don't have enough quality to beat them on normal time, or is it that it was just football? It just went wrong because is it because most of our players were not on the field of play, and if they were on the field of play, I think would it have been like a more comfortable victory for the Super Eagles of Nigeria? Because looking at that, and we still have like the World Cup qualification, that's going to happen, I think September, and you look at the way we played yesterday. Of course, most of these players are going to be replaced by first team starters. And you mentioned a particular player, a young player that you mentioned. I'm trying to remember his name now. Fred, do you think, because you said he should be playing in the AFCON, do you think he can be kind of be slotted in the World Cup qualification as well? Because we need all hands on deck now. Everything we need, everything different to just win. And the big one now that South Africa got docked 3 points for violating certain rule by fielding an ineligible player. So do you think, the question now is, do you think we have enough quality to be able to beat South Africa? Because if a team is struggling against Jamaica, you can say it's because but most of these players are still going to play. Some of these players are still going to play against South Africa. Or do you think we still have, it's just because these players are not, that we don't have most of our first 11 players on ground? That's why we have to like go to penalties, because it took, penalties like a game of luck. We could have won that game and we could have lost it, and it would have been funny for like, just like you said, the biggest brand in Africa to lose to a certain Jamaica. I don't think that's actually good enough for a team that is planning to win the AFCON and to make sure to they get a World Cup qualification.
First thing first, I will start by saying, no two game is the same. If you look at our play against Ghana, the guys were really up for it, having at the back of their mind that okay, this is Ghana. We need to.
I think that's the problem. We should have the mentality for everything like that.
Yes.
No, it's not just because it's Ghana. Because we're not going to face Ghana every time.
Ghana, and they did that with aplomb. But then against Jamaica, it's a final. Jamaica also coming into that game, they want to win. They have it at the back of their mind that okay, we are playing against the Super Eagles of Nigeria, but then we've also got the quality to beat them. You spoke about the fact that you don't know anything about them. Well, let me tell you, Jamaica, they've got a fantastic manager. He worked under Sir Alex Ferguson as a manager. Steve McLaren is a top manager, and they've got brilliant players in that team also. Ogate is a quality player who plays his football with Everton. He's a professional footballer.
Okay, I know.
There's a certain Rafi Morrison also. So these are quality guys also.
Were they on the pitch yesterday?
Yes, they were on the pitch yesterday. Okay. So they were also, adding one or two things into the team. But then the Super Eagles we saw yesterday, for me, it was just an experimental Super Eagles. Of course, I understand the fact that against Jamaica, we shouldn't be, struggling to beat them, blah blah blah. But then Jamaica also did well in that game.
They did their job.
They control the game at some point. For me, I talked about the fact that for me, Sadiq Ismaila yesterday was a bit culpable yesterday, in his defensive, work to,
Particularly the
to the
second
team.
goal.
In fact, the two goals were from his side. So I think for me, that is where, we got it wrong yesterday. But as a team, we play collectively. The cohesion was there. I think that is one thing that has been missing in the Super Eagles team for a while. It's been a long time. Yesterday, someone was saying, "Oh, this is the first time I'm seeing the Super Eagles and I'm enjoying their game." So it shows that we are gradually, cracking that code. We want to see the Super Eagles that you can actually see them, touch the ball together. There's cohesion, there's synergy. It's been a long time we see the Super Eagles of such. So for me, no disrespect to Jamaica, but then on a good day, in a better tournament, let's say the World Cup, trust me, we'll be spanking Jamaica. No disrespect to them, but then we know the Super Eagles just want to enjoy themselves. And at some point, also the guys were a bit, cautious, also trying to, do away with contact and all of that. And you understand that these guys, they don't want to get injured.
Injured, yeah.
So it is expected from them. But then for me, going forward, the AFCON qualifier, I mean the World Cup qualifier,
Qualifiers.
which is, the paramount right now, is going to be very difficult. Honestly, it's going to be very difficult because South Africa right now, the confidence is high for them. They have it at the back of their mind that, we are going to the 2026 World Cup. We want to represent Africa. So for Nigeria, it's our job right now to go extra mile, to
Yeah.
give 110, not 100% right now. You have to give more if you want to actually qualify for the World Cup. So beating South Africa, of course, we can beat them, but then we also need to understand that these guys are ready. They've got the experience also. And if you look at South African football right now, it's also on their ascendancy right now. They are doing well for themselves. In as much as they do not, actually have a lot of players playing in Europe, but then their league
Their
is
league
one of
is
the best
yeah,
in Africa. So they are also doing well. We saw them at the last AFCON, how tough it was for the Super Eagles of Nigeria to defeat them. So it is really going to be very, very tricky for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. But in the end, I'm not sure if we can actually, cross that line. But then if we do, good for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. That means we'll be able to see, the likes of Victor Osimhen and Ademola Lookman at the World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, so it's really going to be difficult. I think the task at hand is kind of, it looks simple, but it's really difficult because I think we've played with our opportunities when we're at them by losing to some teams that will not even, I will not say ridiculous, but some countries that we should have won. And now the task at hand is win against South Africa, and the chances of going to USA is going to be brighter, and the opportunity is there now. Now that South Africa got their points deducted. They didn't get it deducted.
Yeah, they did.
They did. So you're not shaking your head.
I was thinking of that.
Okay. So now,
Well,
do you
I think
really
it's
think?
not actually confirmed yet because there's been a lot of rumor around their point being dropped. But then
Dogs.
there's nothing actually concrete from
Yeah,
yes, from FIFA or CAF.
So it's still very
it is
unlikely.
still, very unlikely.
I don't think so. Now, I think the question I wanted to ask is, do you not think we can actually still make it to the World Cup in 2026? I don't think so, personally, but let me just have your opinion on that.
Yeah, I sort of. I would say it's a 50-50 chance. I feel the last join
I
our
think it's
one.
below 50 though.
No, I feel it's
It's like
50-50 chance.
30 chance now.
Because we just, although we have to rely on people ahead of us to sort of drop points and everything, but the main thing why I say is a 50-50 chance you win your games, because those teams are clearly going to be playing each other, so somebody clearly has to drop a point or
Yeah.
something. So you win your games, that 50% is at least you say, at least I tried my best, at least I did my own part, at least I did my own share of the work. But if we now play the South African side and we now don't get the victory, I feel that's where you could say, yes, this was our issue. But if you look at it, I actually think Nigeria has a chance, because I personally, I feel if with our new coach and with the style of play we saw in the Unity Cup especially, and now thinking of how, although we could say we are saying if and everything, you know, look at how talented players who usually play in Europe now coming to the side, starting Victor Osimhen, who I feel is at the peak of his powers, Neymar Lukman, who's sort of at the peak of his powers, and Alex Iwobi, who had a very, very good season in the Premier League. And then you also we now fitting our left back and right back. Then I feel we have a good midfield too and everything. So yes, I feel if you look at the quality of side, you put them side by side, you actually say okay, maybe the Nigerian national side have an edge over the, although we say the edge doesn't shown in the qualifiers yet, but I feel we have had a bad manager across the qualifiers, so I feel that has sort of ruined our chances. But personally, I feel the Nigerian team can actually still make the World Cup. The thing is just that you actually have to win your games, and the teams above you are surely going to drop points because they are going to be playing each other. So winning the game, because if you asked me this question a few months ago, I've probably say, "Oh, Nigeria are not going to make it." But with
Yeah.
the performance for the Unity Cup, I feel we have there's a sort of will I say, I don't know how to put it. There's a sort of improved hope that oh yes,
Mm.
something can actually happen. These boys
Upon
actually look like oh they could actually play something that could actually get us to the World Cup. But I feel it's going to be a tall order for the Nigerian national side. But I feel it could still happen, especially if you win your games,
it is okay.
winning games. But with the style of play we saw at the Unity Cup, I feel yes, it's very very possible. But if you now look at the style of play that we saw at the two last and the last World Cup two last games, you will say no.
No.
But I feel there has been improvements. There has been Eric Chell has clearly passed his idea what he wants from the boys across over to them, and they've clearly grasped it. Even the so-called Nigerian national in MPFL players who you could say maybe the quality of football is not as good as and so and co. They clearly grasped what he wanted from them. So yes, I think the 50-50 chance, but the will it be the Super Eagles that turn up at the Unity Cup that plays like the performance or the ones we saw at the last two qualifiers? If it's the one at the Unity Cup, I clearly think we are going to be at the World Cup. But if it's the one at the last World Cup qualifiers, oh, I feel it's just going to be back to back no World Cup appearance for Nigeria.
Well, for me, I think it's tricky because it's not just about winning games anymore. It's about waiting for other teams to also flop as well. So I think the ball is no longer in our court, and it only takes a miracle now for me personally to make Nigeria go to to the next World Cup. And it's actually going to be sad because most of these players I will have right now, the next World Cup will be 2030. Most of them will be old, already retired, the national team. Most of them might still be playing in, one local league somewhere, but the likes of Victor Osimhen might not really be there or that anymore. Of course, Ademola Lookman is getting old. Siri Desas is 30. I just found out that Siri Desas is actually 30 years old. I didn't even know he was that old. So you can see that most of these players, most of a lot of changes will have happened, and it's really sad because I was actually looking for. We didn't go to the last World Cup as well. I was actually hoping that this would be the next year will be the year we'll see Nigeria, the Super Eagles of Nigeria, the Niger boys, the vibe. Nigeria, I always bring energy and everything to everywhere we go. It's always more lively when Nigeria is in a particular place. So it's really going to be sad if we don't make it. But for me, I don't think it's going to take a miracle, and for the likes of South Africa and other teams in the group to flop and to just do something terrible for us to make it now, because I think we dropped a lot of silly points. We dropped a lot of silly points, and yeah, a lot of draws that should not have happened. Because I think when we first saw the draw, I think the only team that we're afraid of is South Africa, and now to see that we're not even second, I think we're third or fourth in the group. So it really shows that you can blame the NFF all we want as well. I think the players too. I think it was just a lot of mess, honestly, and we're just starting to like get everything together with a new manager, a new style of play. Because obviously, I don't think the quality of the players has ever been in question. Honestly, I feel like they've been good enough. It's just that the managers we had were just not good enough, and it's a shame, but there's nothing we can do about it. So that is the end of the video, guys. Make sure you like, subscribe. If you're joining us for the first time, this is Sideline Football Podcast, where we talk everything football. So make sure you stay updated by subscribing and turning on your notification bell to all, so that you can get notified when we post another or upload a new video. So take care, goodbye, and God bless.